If you find yourself most nights tossing and turning, being unable to sleep, particularly between 2 and 4 a.m. in the morning, and the next day waking up and not being able to focus, being tired, being irritable, having unnecessary appetite, then you are in the right place. Because in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to explain to you the condition which you are suffering from, called sleep apnea. But let's not hang up too much about the technical world. You know me with this channel, I try to simplify things. The condition that affects you affects most people as they get older. That's affected me, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the condition affects older people. You might wonder then, why does it affect older people? Well, I'll go through that step by step. Then I'll also talk about what you can do, not tomorrow, not next month, what you can start doing tonight. And you immediately will start curing the condition. And I'm not talking about popping pills. I'm not talking about going to therapies. You can take this into your own hands. You know me about in this channel, I absolutely advocate for things that we can do ourselves. I know so many times we abdicate our own conditions to medical professionals. That's fine when it's an acute scenario, God forbid if you had an accident, or if it's really a chronic scenario where you need some medical help. Otherwise, I would say, try to work with your body. Now let's get into it. So what are the three conditions that actually makes it affect older people? Again, you will not be surprised once I begin to mention this, because they are the same things that affect older people in other conditions I've talked about in this channel. So let's go through them. The first one is low testosterone. Now, what does that mean? Your testosterone is a hormone which is responsible for your anabolics, for your growth. That's the one that builds you up, as opposed to your catabolic hormone, which actually that's the one that breaks you down. Now, the fact is, when you have got low testosterone, in fact, there's a video which I created, the video before this. By the time I finish this video, I'll put it up in the top right hand or in the top left hand corner. Look for it and listen to it. But for the here and now, when you've got a low testosterone, what happens is your body will lose muscle, you become tired, you become irritable. That feeds into the night. Once you lay down, when you should be sleeping, you are unable to relax. Not you necessarily mentally at the start, it's your body. Your body is not feeling very balanced, and therefore it begins to wake up in the middle of the night and you are unable to go back to sleep. So one of the first causes is lower testosterone or declining testosterone. And I can tell you now, if you listen to the other video I talked about after you finish here, you'll find that as you get older, testosterone reduces by an average of 1% every year. Now, if you accumulate that over time, it will be colossal. Sometimes by the time we reach our mid-60s, 70s, we've lost about 40% of our testosterone, which then means we are not able to sleep properly. We wake up in the night and we can never go back to sleep. That is affecting so many people, and the fitness industry does not talk about that. Why? The same reason. Because it tends to affect older people, and because it affects older people, and most of the fitness fads, most of the fitness trends, most of the fitness protocols, they are geared towards younger people, and therefore also older people are left behind. I say older people because I'm 64. If you listen to other videos in this channel, I am 64 years of age. I had sleep apnea 2 years ago for about 2 decades, and I solved it. That's why I'm sharing this. So let's get back to the causes. So the first one I've just mentioned is low testosterone. The next one is the good company of low testosterone. And why is that? It's high cortisol. So testosterone tanks, basically cortisol peaks, it goes up. And what is cortisol? Cortisol is another hormone which wreaks havoc on older people. It affects everybody. But as you get older, it becomes really chronic. It affects you. What does it do? It's basically, cortisol is your stress hormone. It stresses you because it causes all of your body to secrete a stress hormone. The body gets into a flight and fright mode. It thinks at the cellular level that's being attacked. Now, I almost liken this to you being chased by a lion or a predator. I know that doesn't happen with modern man today. You being chased by a predator, that's what happens. Your system goes into a panic mode because it thinks being attacked, it thinks it must survive. Now, imagine if your cellular system feels that scenario, suddenly what happens? You are not able to sleep. Sleep is the last thing. Now, in those days, in prehistoric times, if you were sleeping somewhere in the bush or in the cave, and suddenly you were worried about a predator coming to eat you, or some enemy tribe coming to attack you, that's not a time to sleep. It's the same thing. Now, this time it's not an enemy tribe, or it's not even a lion or some other predator, but what happens is your body reacts the same way. It secretes cortisol, and you are in a heightened state of alert. You can never sleep, and that's why you toss and turn. And even the smallest things that you will have been thinking during the mornings, during the afternoons, they become very big. Have you found that out? If you have, put a note in the comment section, because this is one of the things that how you know. One of the ways you find out that you actually got sleep apnea. The smallest things, the normal things that you'll have happen. Maybe a simple argument with somebody, maybe a simple debate, maybe somebody spoke to you so sharply in the night. When you wake up, not before you go to sleep, but just when you wake up, you will toss and turn, you will think about that. You begin to say, why did they ask me that? And that's your body exaggerating. That's your body in a state of fear. So that's your second thing, cortisol. Now, the third thing that happens is basically low recovery. Again, this happens as we get older. Now, all these things have got their science behind them, but you know me, I can break down the science, but it's no point couching everything in science, because it just means all I'll be trying to show is how much knowledge I have instead of impacting the common knowledge. You do not need to know this before you actually do the cure. What I say to people is, if actually, you do not need to know how a car works to the nth degree to be able to drive a car. In the same way, if you know the things that work with your body, you do not need to know to the nth degree science. You don't need to read every paper that's released to be able to do it. Just know that it's backed by science. And these things I'm talking to you about, they are backed by science. The terminology is backed by science. So the next thing that happens is low recovery or slow recovery. What that means is, unlike when you're younger, you go through stress, physical stress or even mental stress during the day, you go to bed, the younger people, they rebound, because everything is energetic, everything is still in a vital state. They can suddenly rebound and sleep like a baby. But if you are older, it takes a lot of time to recover, and that also plays a part. So those three factors, basically low testosterone or declining testosterone, increasing cortisol, and then slow recovery, those are the three things that combine that causes you to wake up and not be able to sleep. Now, how do you cure it? We've already been through the causes, so this becomes very simple. The first thing to do is the usual things. You will need for three things again. You need strength training. Strength training, guess what it does? It creates more muscle, it creates more lean mass. It absolutely addresses the issue of low testosterone. Some of the compound movements which I advocate, like push-ups, sit-ups, like squats, they generate more systems in your body, more hormones that increases your testosterone. There is a whole video that I've made again that talks about how you maintain your testosterone. Again, that video I'll put at the top. By the time you finish this, you should be able to just watch that video and you connect all the dots. In fact, most of the subjects I cover in this channel, they are all connected. People think it's a lot of subjects being covered, but actually it's the same number of things that go circular. But because it's quite difficult to cover everything in one video, I have to cover them. But that's why I put links so you can join the dots. That's why I ask you to subscribe so you can listen to other videos. By the time you listen to 5, 6, 7 videos here, you are far more likely, as long as you are able to connect the dots, and I always try to create linkages so that you can actually get a bigger picture. So let's get back to the second thing that you use to cure. I've already talked about strength training, and you know me about strength training. It's quite important that you do that. And part of the benefits you get is you'll absolutely address sleep apnea. The second thing you should do is eat protein. Now, does that sound familiar? Because again, when you eat protein, it does give you that thing. But here is the thing. Do not only eat protein, but make sure you do not eat late at night. So in the strength training as well, make sure you do not train late. So stop all training at about 6 o'clock. If you are a 9 to 5 kind of person, or whenever evening is for you, make sure you stop at least 3-4 hours before you go to bed. Strength training. But train during the day so that you give your body that anabolic activity. The second thing is eat protein, but do not eat very late. So do not eat anything between 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. I normally recommend for people who go to bed around 9, 10, stop eating at 6 o'clock. And when you do that, your body will not be digesting when you go to bed. So that's the second thing that helps you. So do strength training, but do not train very late. Eat protein, but do not eat beyond 6 o'clock. And the third thing you should do is blue light avoidance. Avoid blue lights and what is blue lights? Blue lights are the sort of lights we emit artificially, either from a phone or a laptop or an iPad, anything that's artificial. Because what our body does is it actually perceives those light as the sun. Remember, we've evolved for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years wherein we never were exposed to artificial light. This is a recent invention. So our cellular bodies have evolved to recognize the sun. It's called the circadian rhythm, and as soon as there is no sun or light, it kind of is ready to sleep. Now, but we've interrupted all that with our modern living. We kind of keep light almost 24/7, and that makes it quite difficult to sleep, because at the cellular level, your cells are thinking, oh, it's not night, why should we go into bed? And that will keep you awake. The final thing, almost as a bonus, you should do, so I've already mentioned, eat protein, but do not eat late. Do strength training, but do not train very late. And I've also mentioned blue light. The final thing as a bonus you should do, and this is really important, or you should avoid doing, is drinking alcohol. Now, I'm not saying not to drink alcohol at all, because that's down to your choice, as long as you do it in moderation. But what I'm saying is, do not drink alcohol late. Now, I know this is controversial. A lot of people say, well, Bori, when I drink alcohol before I go to bed, a glass or two or a pint of beer, I relax. It relaxes me to go to bed. Well, apart from the fact that if you take liquids close to bedtime anyway, you are far more likely to get up to go to the bathroom or to the loo, as we say in England. That alone is enough to wake you up, because when you wake up to go to, unless if you are really your bladder is very healthy, if you wake up to go to the loo, you come back, probably that's enough to make you stay awake, particularly if you've got the sleep apnea condition. So just that alone, even if it was water, you can sip a little bit. If it's water, do not drink a lot before you go to bed, because that will keep you awake, because you will have to get up to go to the toilet. The next thing that's even worse is alcohol. People think it relaxes them, but the alcohol itself, it wreaks havoc at a cellular level. But I'm not talking about long-term effects of it. Just the night you drink it, you might think it will relax you. It might knock you out before you go to bed. But what happens is, at some point, it's going to wake you up. And when you wake up, you will not be feeling good. You could be sweaty. You could be too hot. And that immediately means you're not going to be able to sleep. Right? Now, there are other sleep hygiene conditions, like keeping your room cold, like having the right mattress. This video is not going to be long enough for me to tell you all about that. But one thing I will say, almost to close on the cures, is make sure you become a sleep expert. Now, there are so many books, there are so many things about how to sleep properly, how to learn how to sleep. Now, we all tend to have forgotten how to sleep. We tend to only crash and hit the sack when we're totally exhausted, when we're totally tired. That's not how nature was intended. Sleep is so important. You can see evolution did not weed it out. Now, when we don't sleep, we're at our most vulnerable. Throughout evolution, I mean, imagine what it would have felt to be able to sleep in an open forest or in an open savanna where you had predators, but we still had to sleep, because it's a critical part of us repairing our bodies and actually remaining as beings, right? So that's with us. So that's how important it is. If it was not that required, if it was just discretionary, you just do it because you want to, that would have been weeded by evolution many years ago. But it's still with us, so we must do it, and therefore it's quite important to become a sleep expert. And there are so many things I've been writing about it. If you want me to make a whole video about how to sleep properly, the sleep hygiene, what you do, I can make a video. Just leave comments in the comment section and ask for it, and I'll make a whole video about how to sleep properly. But this video was more around sleep apnea and what causes it, and the fact that if you are older, it doesn't mean you are sentenced to a life of sleep apnea. The fact that you can actually do something about it. So do not let this condemn you. Now let's go.